Look, I'll rack up the points. I'll try to get a 6-6 score just doing this.
So there, like, you just run into the wrong group, and all of a sudden you're in a bad situation, or what?
Yeah, you have to know where to go. It's like any place, you know, there's good streets and bad streets, but in El Salvador, the danger is not that you're going to be pickpocketed. It's that, yeah, like, you will be killed for your cell phone or your shoes. I don't mean to be a downer about that shit.
No, I mean, it's interesting, because, like, I'm sure it's the same way in Los Angeles. There's just certain places you don't go to.
Yeah, Compton, supposedly. They told me, don't go to Compton, and it's like, okay, I'll try not to. But I kind of want to go because that's where the chicken place is, the Roscoe's.
Oh, dude, you don't have to go to Compton for that. There's one in Pasadena. There's one in the LA regular. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe the most authentic of all that, maybe. Of course, now we're implying that fried chicken is exclusive to the black community, which, whatever. I'm just saying, like, there's options. There's options. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Like, in South Texas, where I grew up, the neighborhood I grew up in started off well enough, but then I think as the years went by, it kind of just degraded. And I don't think I realized, I never saw anything really bad. I always saw, like, after the fact, like, you know, I heard somebody got killed or whatever. But I never experienced it for myself, thankfully. But
He's
yeah.
pissing,
Look at
by
that.
the way. He's peeing.
Oh, speaking of that, somebody did get killed on the street that I work about a week ago in LA. And it's funny because I normally get lunch at that time, and there's like this really shady Jack in the Box on Sunset where, like, do not go to that Jack in the Box because there's always like crackheads and like heroin addicts, and it's just fucking scary. Plus Jack in the Box, whatever. But yeah, some guy near there started going around with a knife and just shanking people.
Oh shit!
So 3 people were put in, like, I believe, critical condition. And then after he stabs a guy on a bike, and then he tries to run into a coffee shop that I normally go to, and apparently, like, the people freak out and they close the glass door shut so they can't get in. And so then as soon as he realizes that he can't get into the shop, he runs straight into the Jack in the Box. About that time, the cops show up. They chase him in and they just take him out. They just shoot him.
Oh shit!
And yeah, and I was like, fuck, if I had gotten breakfast, like, earlier that day or whatever, and my stomach was telling me to go then, I would have been in the middle of that shit, because it's right in the path to, like, where I get lunch.
Oh yeah, it's the you could have zigged when you should have zagged sort of scenario. Pretty much that's what it is. Whenever I would go out with my friends at night in El Salvador, my parents would always be so fucking worried, and at the time, it's kind of like because you see it so much, you get used to it. I'm going to go to the next stage, by the way. The next stage is like, I can't yet. I'll do Foundry goals to get to the next stage.
Not good enough, Andy.
Not yet, yeah. My parents would be...
So you think you can skate? Sorry.
So you think you can skate? I was actually going to talk about the phenomenon that skateboarding was back at in the time of this shit.
Oh yeah.
Where it was like the modern day hula hoop or something from my generation, dude. I remember everyone was into skateboarding. Everyone was trying to be a skater, and it was fueled by this and also like the Jackass era. Like, we are using the guy, you know, the
Bam
Margera.
Margarita. Yeah.
Bam Margarita.
Yeah.
And it's just the I don't think we'll see, like, they've tried it recently with more things like...
Oh shit, do you die if you fall in there? Is that it?
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that you die then.
Yeah, there's lots of... What this game does that's cool is there's a lot of like slapstick sort of things, but afterwards it got to be too much, and then you can, like, get off your bike and then you can drive cars, and that's when I checked
like jump
out.
the shark, right?
Totally.
Oh!
I did it.
Oh, that's funny.
I can do a Jackass into the lava.
So you're saying that they were trying to sort of revive the Jackass stuff, but it wasn't quite gelling? Is that what you're getting?
Anything that'll catch the attention of the youth that involves any sort of activity nowadays.
Oh. You know what I think killed it is probably just the internet. Like, because, you know, the stuff that the Jackass guys do, the stuff that they do is crazy, but, like, you can get on Live Leak, or you can get, like, on the weird subsections of YouTube and find, like, probably stuff that's even worse, you know what I mean? Like, and you've seen, like, the videos of, like, those Russian kids on top of the fucking skyscraper buildings.
Super scary.
Dude, you know what I was thinking would be amazing is if somebody did one of those videos with, like, a VR capturing camera.
Oh my god.
And then you fucking put on a headset and live that. My god.
Fuck. There's a guy that does those super, like, being on top of the highest building in Vietnam or something, and he wears a GoPro. Dude, my asshole gets so
Dude,
tight
I know.
watching
It's
that
always
shit.
my butt.
Yeah,
like,
you're
like I just start to like freak out, and it starts to tingle, and it like clenches. I'm like, oh
yeah, I
my
clench my
God.
butt and my feet start to tingle, and
But could you imagine though a VR experience of that? They just shoot it with like 360 or like stereoscopic cameras.
yeah.
Fucking hell, man.
Oh shit, I think I got some goals. I got goals, man.
Got goals.
I got goals in life. I'll get the secret tape. Dude, this thing, if anyone watching this is into, or used to be into these games, or skateboarding in general, dude, there is a Vice documentary called All This Mayhem, which is amazing because it sort of shows you, like, Tony Hawk is he carried the banner for skateboarding. Like, we wouldn't be playing this game. I wouldn't have been into skateboarding as a youth if it hadn't been for these games.
Right.
And that was because of Tony Hawk. And in All This Mayhem, it shows you. I'm gonna get the secret tape, hopefully.
Oh.
Oh shit!
Dude,
I got
it.
but it shows you that Tony Hawk was kind of an asshole, and he kind of ruined the career of this Australian guy, the Papas
Oh, was
brothers.
it a competitive thing or what?
Yeah, but it's because back in the day, before, like, this is when skateboarding got mainstream, when the Tony Hawk games were coming out. But back in the day, there were two paths, like two diverging paths, and one of them,
Oh shit! It's like VHS versus Beta.
yeah, of people, of like their goals and their intentions with skateboarding. Like, some of them were like, we're never gonna sell out. They had the whole punk sort of attitude about it, and fuck the police and all that. But it was mostly fueled by drugs and chaos, as it tends to be.
Oh, man.
So you can't sell that to kids worldwide, you know, and you can't put these guys into the X Games. So these brothers from Australia were super talented, but they get so screwed over by Tony Hawk and by, you know, their careers were just like ruined. And he was the first guy to do the 900, but he wasn't Tony Hawk, so they kind of didn't let him do it in front of cameras. It's a super sad documentary. I don't know if you ever saw Dear Zachary.
Oh, I did.
So
That's
it's
hard
like
to watch.
the second saddest documentary I've seen
man.
after, because Dear Zachary, nothing compares to that shit.
That sucked. It was actually Chris who told me to watch that, and I was like, sure, I'll give it a whirl. And like, yeah, I was like,
Oh, it's gut wrenching, dude. It's
man.
gut wrenching. I love that movie though. Sometimes I just love feeling that.
no, I mean, well, it's funny because Chris said he was like yelling at the television when he was watching it, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Based on what happens, but no, man, I feel the same way about film, and not to sound like a broken record, 'cause I know we've talked about this, but like, I don't care if the film makes me feel what it was going for, like the specific emotion that it wanted to make me feel. I consider it like a success. Like the worst thing for me now was like watching a movie and like immediately forgetting it, you know, not going through an experience. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like it makes you feel like shit, but at least it made you feel something, which was the intention.
Right. And if it was on purpose. Somebody gave me a really cool analogy about filmmaking, how like a good filmmaker, if you look at like if you take a magnet and you could see like, you know, all the atoms, they all have like different polarities and they're all pointing a certain way. But being able to see like all the charges basically switch to a very specific direction, like that should be the representation of an audience with a film that's effective. Versus like if it's not an effective movie, like all the charges are all over the place. They're very, very varied. So like you want to have it like purposefully have everybody pointed this direction or whatever. So,
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool analogy.
That's cool. And I think like right now, I was recently at a party and someone was trying to convince me that Fight Club doesn't hold up because of this and that, and sort of saying that new movies now they try to achieve more, and it's like I was not giving them any sort of credibility after that, because there is a certain period of movies that now it's harder to find, where I think movies like Fight Club has a lot of that, where it's like it makes you feel sort of nihilistic, or maybe I don't know, it taps into those feelings of being young and misunderstood real well. I think that's why a lot of people,
the frustration of not knowing what to do with your adult life, like trying to figure out like what's it all about. Like not being fulfilled with material possession, etc.
Yeah, that person was saying that now looking back, it's like they should have checked their privilege, because it was only like privileged white people looking for that have like a good high-paying job, but it was so. That's what I'm saying, dude. Imagine being sequestered by someone at a party, and they're talking to you about that shit. It's like, God.
I think that is a total luxury, and in a perfect world, everyone would have that problem of like self-actualization. Like, I know there's that hierarchy of needs, like Maslow's hierarchy. Anyway, I forget the exact the
some
phrase.
Psychology shit right there.
But yeah, like once you don't have to worry about food and shelter and like basic needs, like that's when you get into the cerebral, where it's like, now how do you find self-actualization? And that's stupid that somebody would equate that to like white privilege. Like, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, anybody can go through that. Anybody who's blessed or has worked hard enough to like be in that situation and they have half a brain, because like I bet you there's a ton of rich people out there that don't give a fuck. They're happy just being rich and fucking jerking off all day. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So like, that's dumb to assume that like it's race specific and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
the quest for
so
fulfillment
dumb.
is not strictly a white privilege thing.
That's so dumb.